What a bizarre episode of Downton Abbey. The demise of Mr. Green. What's Edith thinking? And Mary and her many men. All that and more coming up right now on Manner of Speaking. Good evening and welcome to Manner of Speaking. I'm ErnieManouse and welcome to our Manor House. We've got so much to talk about and we're interested in what you think, what you saw, what you're wondering about. You can contact us at Facebook at Manner of Speaking page, or you can find us on Twitter, #MOS or @MannerSpeak. You can call us the old-fashioned way on the telephone. The number's on your screen and we've got so much to talk about. But I can't do it alone. I have my panel of friends with me on the couches today, starting off with St. John Flynn from Houston Public Media.
Good evening. Glad to be here.
Then we have the director of the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. He's also a frequent country house guest, Gary Tintereau. Welcome. She's a fashionista and blogger at myredglasses.com. I wonder how she came up with that name. It's Roz Pachter. And filling in for the lovely Helen Mann this week is another lovely lady. It is our good friend Adele Howland from Houston Public Media. Coming up in just a few moments, you're going to figure out why we did this. We have famed prosecutor, author, and screenwriter Marcia Clark joining us. She's got a few theories on what happened on tonight's episode, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But you know what's important to find out right now? It's to remind everyone what just happened on the episode you just watched. So pay attention to the headlines. Here comes the Grantham Gazette. Anna learns of the news, and at once worries, did the valet do it? Ooh, did the valet do it? Well, that's a perfect segue into this week's poll question because we don't really know what happened there. So our poll question is, Mr. Green is gone. What do you think led to his demise? A, just karma, baby. Anyone can trip into oncoming traffic. B, a stranger. Heck, I bumped into 3 people getting into my chair this evening. C, one of our trusted and beloved characters just gave a little shove. Or D, he ain't dead. After Mrs. Hughes' talking to last week, he's gone into hiding. We're curious to see what you think. Vote now at houstonpbs.org/MannerSpeak, and we will have the results at the end of the show. So make sure to do that. Okay, my friends on the couches, quite an episode tonight. I think it was a Dowager episode. I think she had some really great lines again. Gary, what do you think?
I think she's become an existentialist philosopher.
Roz, help me with this. Why doesn't she just leave Downton and go live at the farm?
Well, there's a lot more action at Downton.
That's probably very, very
I mean, just
true.
keeping up with Mary and her suitors, I mean.
Yeah, and that's not the only action. There's action going on across the pond, across the pond, and we've been talking about this for a while because Lord G had to leave us for a bit, and then he came back, and the Dowager thought she was going to take my place, and she did her own little History 101, trying to explain the Teapot Dome scandal. But you know what? We had already decided we were going to tell you all about it. So here in this week's History 101 is our Teapot Dome scandal. Did you notice he wasn't the first cabinet member to go to prison, just the first one while in office to go to? It's a wonderful thing. Well, you know what? We're always interested in your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings about what's going on. We give you that information right there on the screen, and it is delivered to me by my trusty manservant, Mr. Rogers. Good evening, Mr. Rogers. Do you have something for me?
Good evening, my lord. Yes, I have your tweets, my lord.
Oh, my why, thank you. Did you all know he was going to say that? You know what? This week, though, I have something for you. Because we have a new tradition here. You know, we have our Mourner's Corner. And tonight, we lost another cast member, Mr. Green. Now, there's debate whether or not what we should do with this picture. Mr. Rogers, would you please take care of that for me? Mr. Rogers, everybody. Oh, what are we going to do with him? All right, here we go to our tweets. Are you folks ready? Mm-hmm. All right, is Tom a new project for Isabel? What do you think, Roz?
is Tom.
A new project for Isabel.
Tom who?
Branson.
Oh.
The R speller.
He is definitely
Welcome.
become
We watch a show called Downton Abbey here each
Where
week.
have I been? Okay.
I've been getting in trouble this season for the way I've been poking fun of people, and I've got to go here. Tom's gained a little. Haven't you noticed it this season? Am I the only one that noticed you? But anyway, okay, our next one. What is it with the church bazaar? Haven't seen the family go to regular church services unless someone dies. Or is jilted at the altar. We see that. Yeah, they're not a big church-going group, are they?
They're in the 20s now, so the fashion is much looser. It's very
So is Rose.
and right,
Did I go there?
definitely.
We got issues with Rose. We'll get to those in a
Yeah,
little bit.
really.
Okay, back to our tweets. Branson, you remember him, he's Tom.
Yes,
Just
yes.
wanna remind you. Branson
I
is
like last names. I like last
okay.
names.
Branson is turning into the Cindy Brady of Downton. Snitch, snitch. Somebody else might have a better opinion of all this because she has a lot of experience in this realm. So we decided we would contact a good friend of ours, Marcia Clark, who happened to be a famed prosecutor from the O.J. Simpson case. You remember that? She's also now a screenwriter and an author. So we thought we would ring her up across the pond. Hello, Marcia.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. It's nice to know you're a huge fan of Downton also.
Oh my God, I'm so devoted.
Watch the episode back, pay attention, thinking it's Anna. You know?
But that's the way that it's been set up.
No, it's being
I
set
mean,
up for us all to
the
think
obvious
it's
thing
Bates.
is Bates.
Yes,
But, and then the
it's
question
obvious.
is, and I know I've got to get to the audience, 1 second here. There is the point where Bates does ask Green, where do you live in London? And he tells him, I live in Piccadilly, oh, that's where the guy's at the house and all that stuff. So then I think Bates hears Anna is going to go. So Bates goes to keep an eye on his wife to make sure she's not in trouble because he knows she's going to the same place. He sees Anna push him in, and that's the exchange they have when she says, you wouldn't do anything to jeopardize, meaning you wouldn't rat-fink me out. So we've got some questions from our studio audience. Let's go.
That's a whole different thing.
Yes, I'm curious about, in these days of Victoria's Secret, about the flat unibosom that the titled women seem to have.
Okay. Roz?
They were wrapped. I don't know.
That was the style to not be.
It was not to be voluptuous.
You can see a whole lot more. We are doing a full half-hour special on the art and style of Downton Abbey on Arts Insight this Thursday night at 7 o'clock right here on Houston PBS, Channel 8. So if you can't be home, set your DVRs. Make sure you record that. It's a great show. Anyway, okay, we just got a phone call from Ruby from Humble. She's 99 years old and wanted to let us know that, as you said, women in the 20s bound themselves and kept those bound up. And I'm guessing if she's 99, she may remember. Well, my
Hope
math's
she's
a
not
little
still
off
bound.
there, but it's close enough. Okay, now every week we do go back to our butler when we have a little time because he always says to me something very important. He has a catchphrase. Do you all know what the catchphrase is for my butler? We have someone in the studio audience who has actually got their own T-shirt that actually does say "Treats, my lord." Her own creation, her own T-shirt. I love it. And since we've set it up like that, I don't know what Mr. Rogers is going to say now. Nothing at all?
I have your tweets, my lord.
Oh, let's hear it from Mr. Rogers again for the T-shirt and our tweet. At the end of the episode, Lord Grantham and Thomas share a look. Do they have a secret?
But Tom is not marriage material for the Grantham social set daughters.
So what does he do?
He's out of the servants' hall, so he really, I mean, he could
There's a
marry,
bad joke there. I'm just going to let go right now.
marry a pretty maid, but that wouldn't help him.
And what didn't help him was that Mrs. Hughes did a little snooping, and she brought a foil to all of Edna's plan, and it was the book Married Love. So what is in that book? Well, History 101 will explain that to us. I stumped my panel of professors who did not know that it was turned into a movie also. Though they did know that Married Love actually isn't the book with all the good birth control information. That was her next book she wrote afterwards. But we're not going to get carried away with that because we're too busy getting your questions, comments, and thoughts. And the way we get them delivered to us here at the Manor House is thanks to our dear sweet butler, Mr. Rogers. Hello, Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, my lord.
So, Mr. Rogers, you stand back there. You see an awful lot of stuff that goes on. Have you ever caught anyone coming in late, like early in the morning on the back staircase?
I shouldn't say, my lord.
Well, let's see. What do you have on your silver tray?
I'll get you for that.
Oh, she's... Okay, moving right along. Let's go to the Twittersphere.
Did they have shaving and deodorant and things like that we have close to today to make them like were ladies clean shaven and deodorant and things like that? How did that work?
I don't know at home if you could have seen her hand gestures. Ladies were clean shaven and she ran her hand out her leg there. So we know what you're talking about. We've got you. Yeah, what was grooming like back then? Anybody?
Primitive by our standards.
Very primitive.
You use scents, you don't bathe a lot. And they look great upstairs because someone gets them ready every day and grooms them 3 or 4 times a day. But that hair probably gets washed.
I mean, remember, the
once
staff
a week or less.
downstairs, they would have a basin and a pitcher of water. And their daily grooming would be basically a lick and a promise.
So thank you for that enlightening question. And let's take one more really quickly. Thanks to all of you for watching. Remember, coming up in just a couple of seconds, Sherlock returns, and we're going to see what... Yeah, Helen's very excited about that. Maybe we know why she's sneaking in early in the morning. She's staying up late watching Sherlock. Anyway, oh, please. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I'll do it line that you like of Lady Mary's? That's my favorite line in the whole show. They're trying to figure out who's going to do what when it comes to the letter stealing and who's going to tell what story. And Mary's like, I'll do it. I don't mind lying. That was perfect.
That's our Mary.
I love that line. That really made me happy.
House is closed.
St. John, don't you know anything?
Rosamund lives in her house all the time.
Everything, the furniture,
So her house is open.
and all the
But they have a
staff are
separate
gone.
staff down there.
I'm going to remind you guys we're doing a
Well,
TV
that's
show
true.
here, so if we can move this along. Yes, they have a house. They made reference to it before. When Mary was going to go into London and her mother said, oh, do you want me to open the house? And she's like, oh, no, I'll just stay with Rosamund.
Yes.
Remember that
Rosamund's in
exchange?
her house, and it's
Not that I
all
pay
right.
way too much attention to these shows, but I do remember that. But a question that's more fascinating to me is Edith. What's going on with Edith?
Given the huge popularity of Downton Abbey, do you think there's a likelihood of there being a spin-off show from...
Okay, I know an answer to this question. There was a lot of talk, as I found out from Gareth Neame, we were talking about this. Everyone talked about there was going to be a prequel about how Cora and Robert got together and built their relationship, and that was going to be a spin-off show, and Gareth Neame said, no, that is one of those false stories that had been kicked around, but no, there is no truth to that. And as far as a spin-off, I think that they're going to just hope that this show lives on. Next question. Back to an earlier thing. Do you ever get Valentine's Day cards?
No, my lord.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Maybe this Valentine's Day, folks out in TV land and our audience will send you some.
Please don't.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. All right, back to the Twittersphere. Often in dramatic works, even in movies, television, books, that the device of rape is used. And it moves character along and it moves story along, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that it is a serious thing that is continuing to happen today in our society.
Absolutely. We're glad to be on because I think it's very important for media to put on things that people can relate to, and unfortunately sexual assault is one of them. If it hasn't happened to someone in the audience, they probably know someone who it's happened to, so it's really important for them to know how to get a friend help or where to find help for themselves.
Before we talk too much about this too, I do want to mention that oftentimes people have had experiences in their past, and something like watching what just happened on Downton might bring that stuff up again. And that you do have numbers for people to call. There is a helpline that people can call.
We have a 24-hour crisis hotline for survivors of sexual assault.